Hi everybody, my name is Stacey Ray. I'm the founder and creator of the A.R.T of Areola Restorative Tattoo. And I just worked with TatSoul to come out with a brand new cartridge box, two of them actually, specifically for working with damaged tissue. So our focus is on areola restorative tattooing, nipple tattoos, of course, but we designed these sets of needles for anybody who does any type of scar care work. You can work with collagen induction therapy, dry needling, all of that. I do big scar cover-up designs, torso tattoos over the mastectomy and stuff. And we made sure that these needle cartridges were effective for everybody who does any type of work with damaged tissue. So I'm going to teach you a little bit about how to get the most out of the Create box, the first pass box. So what we want to do is we want to think about the first pass, because this work cannot be done in a single pass. We just don't know how the scar tissue is going to retain pigment. So we have to take it on a two-pass approach. So I treat the very first pass of nipple tattoo like the underlayer of an oil painting. That's how I describe it to my clients and my students as well. And so if we're going to create a kind of base layer, all we really have to worry about in the first pass is getting the pigment in, the size and placement, of course, where it looks good on the breast, and getting a nice kind of base layer in so we create that illusion of a nipple areola complex without causing further damage to the skin. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because even though needling, collagen induction therapy, there's a bunch of different techniques that we can use with a tattoo machine that will reduce scar tissue. Well, there's also always the risk of making it worse every single time we work on it. So the way that we can apply some tattooing to this tissue without risking further damage is by having a needle configuration that is forgiving. And what does that mean? That means that there's room for error. How do we do that? So what I deem to be forgiving is space between the needles. So we start with a 3-shader instead of a 3-liner, because a tight needle grouping where the needles are really solidly tight in together could tear this delicate tissue. So if we have a little bit of wiggle room between the needles, then we can get the pigment to the depth that it needs to go to in that particular scar without damaging or traumatizing the surface of the skin. It's very important. So we start our contouring and our defining with a little bit of room between the needles. Now there's two things that's great about this, the room between the needles. One of them is that skin, that dense fibrous skin tissue, or that super fine tissue over stretch marks, because we will see stretch marks on the breast from breastfeeding or from donor tissues. Sometimes they reconstruct the breast mound with the stomach tissue, where you will see stretch marks on an aged woman who's had children. So part of it is the space between the needles, and the other part of it is that the solder is pulled back further from the tip of the needle, so they also have a little bit of room to move around. There's a little bit of wiggle room. That is legit. So you can start your contouring and defining with the 3-round shader. Each one of these boxes, the Create box, has 4 different needle configurations. 5 of each configuration. So you can do 5 clients, everything you need. 5 clients in here. So the second needle configuration is an 8-round shader. So we start really big and loose, and then in the second pass, which I'll do another video about, then we refine and detail based on how the first pass held pigment. And since we have to start big and loose and light and soft, we can always build on it in the second pass. So the first pass is really about what I call starting a conversation with the scar, because this process is more about what does the scar receive than it is about what we're doing to it. We have to finesse it in a way that it accepts what we're laying down, right? So the second needle cartridge is going to be an 8-round shader, where you can build on the depth. So you've defined the nipple. Now with the 8-round shader, you can kind of build on the depth of it, right? Then we have a 9 curve mag. Again, all of these have a lot of space between the needles, which is the important part. The 9 curve mag allows you to get some decent saturation in around the nipple on the areola itself. And then we have a 13 curve mag so that you can do a big loose outer edge to give that areola a really nice soft irregular edge. And that is what makes it look natural, right? So you start with the 3 round shader, get your definition, and then 8 round shader to build on the depth of it. Think about it as a sculpture because that nipple would be a half circle coming out of the body, right? And then your 9 curve mag, get that nice kind of, you got to get it tight around the nipple because if it's not tattooed around the outside of the nipple, it kind of looks unfinished, doesn't it? We see a lot of these kind of tattoos with the outer ring around the nipple, but they kind of look a little bit unfinished. So we got to make sure that we get that saturation in there so it looks like a natural nipple. And then that nice, big, loose, super soft outer edge. And that is how you get the most out of the Create box. TatSoul, A.R.T, NV, Generation 2 needle cartridges. All right, so hopefully that helps you do really beautiful first passes, and stay tuned for our second pass video. Thank you.